Welcome back to New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives. It is I, the mayor, Philip Boys, high up in the mayor's office, hanging with those who are doing an impact in their communities. Now, I understand that I grew up in an environment where my parents really pushed education. Education itself seems to be a moving target. How can parents get themselves back into the equation when it comes to enriching their kids' education? And to do that, we had to ask someone in the know. Please welcome Dr. Allison Parker, who wrote the book, Mom is the Missing Link, The Power is Within You, 25 Pedagogical Practices to Help You Close the Reading Achievement Gap for Your Child. Dr. Parker, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, well, can I say the pleasure's all mine because I get to finally really pick the brain of someone who's been in the education space for a long time.
26 years. 26 years. 26 public school years. Absolutely. And I'm also from Brooklyn, New York.
Let's go. East Coast.
I'm excited to speak to someone from where I have been born and raised. So I'm pretty excited about this interview. Let's get into it.
I always say Brooklyn's a third parent. You know what I'm saying? Never leave things unattended. Why? Brooklyn. All right, let's get into it. So first things first, my parents are from another country. They are immigrants. They came into the American school system kind of like foreign agents in a certain way. And I think a lot of us put a lot of stock in just going to class and going home. But I really feel like to really give our children a fighting chance, we need to do other things besides the classroom. So I wanted to ask you about that. How has education really become a two-pronged attack for most parents today?
So most parents are going about the business of raising their children, and they're trying to put food on the table, they're trying to pay bills, and they are generally expecting the school systems to do their jobs. The problem is solely relying on public schools, or any school system for that matter. I'm talking private schools, charter schools, regular public schools, any type of school system, solely being in control of your child's learning is problematic for a variety of reasons. And so what I want to encourage parents to do is, while we're going about the business of raising our children and putting food on the table, what I would love parents to focus more on, particularly mothers, what can you do to move the needle in literacy for your own children? Because mom truly is the missing link. We need mom. Mom seems to be missing from the educational landscape. So I want to encourage mom to join in this literacy movement, because 2/3 of all of our children cannot and do not read on grade level. So this is a crisis.
And was there a particular moment when you decided to say, look, I got to write this book, Mom is a Missing Link? Was there a linchpin moment, or was it a gradual evolution over time?
So it's something that I say to the clients that I currently serve. So not only have I been a product of New York City Public Schools, a teacher from New York City Public Schools for many years, 2 decades. Also, I have my own private practice where I tutor children. July 2nd makes 13 years that I've been privately tutoring children and supporting mothers in closing the reading achievement gap, because there's a huge gap. And some parents come to me because school systems can't help their kids. Like, teachers just don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the permission to do so. They're forced to follow a curriculum. No one is using students' data to the capacity it needs to be used to move the needle. So students are in one grade level, and at the end of the school year, they're still reading at that level. They haven't made any real gains, and they haven't made a lot of progress. And the problem is parents are looking for solutions. What made me motivated to write the book is that this is a phrase that I often say to my current clients. Mom is the missing link. Can't do it without you. I literally cannot do it without parents. And I don't believe any other teacher or school system can do it without the support from home. So once I finish my Ph.D., it's been on my to-do list. So I've been sort of carrying this book around like luggage in my head since February 2022, which is when I finished my Ph.D. And so I laid out the table of contents, and I thought about what are the practices from the science of reading that I need to support parents with. Wouldn't it be fantastic if mom knew how to close the reading achievement gap and wasn't completely dependent on a school system? That's my rationale for writing the book.
The book itself says 25 pedagogical practices, and I have to be honest with you, that's the first time I saw that phrase together. What exactly is a pedagogical practice? Is for the
Okay.
uninitiated.
Okay, so that word is pronounced pedagogical.
Pedagogical.
Pedagogical, which the root word is pedagogy. And pedagogy is the art and science of teaching children to read, or art and science of teaching children. And I just added teaching children to read. So pedagogy is the word that you're referencing. Yes, there is an art and science to teaching children to learn, particularly how to read. When children know how to read, we empower them so that we ensure that their future is brighter. Literate people earn more than illiterate people. Literate people have more control over their lives and their outcomes if they're empowered through literacy.
And so you do go into 25 of those principles. Is there one that sticks out for you that you like to share here today?
Well, there are many practices. The one that I think is most pressing, that will give parents sort of the data that they need to see where their children are, is the practice of listening to your own children read. What if you gave your child a small book, a passage, a list of words? What if you gave your child that to read, and then you listen in and recorded what we call the miscues? Miscues are errors. So if you know that your child is struggling with vowels, digraphs, consonant blends, every word that starts with a consonant blend, your child struggles. What if you knew that your child couldn't read vowel words with vowel teams? What if you noticed that your child needed more help with silent E? A lot of kids don't know how to approach silent E because they haven't been explicitly taught. Mm-hmm. So I want to impress upon mothers to listen to their children read. So I have this freebie that I love to offer your audience, so that they can use the assessment to find out exactly where their child is struggling. That's the first step. So listening to children read, I mean, if you knew, then you have at least the first step in the process of starting to close the reading achievement gap.
Absolutely true. Maybe this is kind of more of the emotional side for a parent, having to come to terms with understanding their own child's limitations and acknowledging that, and also the extra work when it comes to enriching the curriculum. So when you come across a parent in that situation, is there pushback, or is it kind of like you're absolutely right, thank you so much for your help? Like, how do you deal with the personal side of parents going forward and saying, okay, I have to help my child?
So I would say that, yes, I've come upon this issue. I do have this issue. And the solution is to get mothers to understand it only takes consistency. That could be 5 to 10 minutes per day. On the way to school, you could be working on phonemic awareness, and that's all auditory processing. You could be working on rhyming words on your way to school. You could be working on rhyming words while you're giving the kid a bath. Like, I wrote this book for new mothers, for pregnant mothers, for mothers of children that haven't started school yet, and for parents who have children already enrolled in school from K through 5. Because there are moments where mothers are with children that they could be working on these things through play. So it doesn't have to be, it's not a curriculum, it's not a lesson plan, it's a set of strategies to give parents. And I spell them out from A to Z in a very explicit way so parents can say, okay, this is something that I can put into practice right now.
What was the explicit intention of focusing your book for mothers?
That's 99% of my clients are mothers, and 99% of my clients have been mothers. It's usually mom who contacts me to say, you know, my child received a letter from school. They're going to leave him back. He's going to get left back. I'm terrified if he gets left back. I got left back as a child. I don't want my child to get left back. Fear. I respond to fear. And usually mothers, when I meet them, once I assess their children, I use that same assessment I'm talking about. that I'm offering for parents for free, they are crying. They're in tears. So most of my interactions are with mothers. It's rare. So we all know as teachers that, and as mothers, school systems, we all have to participate in this process. It's not just the teacher. Relying just on the teacher is part of the reason why our kids are failing.
Yeah.
So having these conversations with mothers to help them see you truly are what we need. Let's empower you. So my mission this year is to empower at least 1,000 mothers, 1,000 new mothers out there in cyberspace. I want to find me and utilize the resources because this gap can be closed. I can think about a few clients I met last year who in that school year, in the year of knowing me, they closed the gap. The earlier, the better. The mother of the kindergarten student, the mother of the first grader, these are the two important grades. Kids have so much work to do and so much to learn in terms of letters and sounds, phonemic awareness and phonics. If we get them early, wow, we can go ahead and close that gap. Now, for kids that are in upper grades, is it too late? It's never too late to learn to read. It's just easier the younger they are.
You had mentioned the achievement gap a number of times, and I have a working idea, but where does it come from? How does it multiply? How does it cascade? How can it avoid that growth if there seems to be there? It's almost like a decay, like a cavity almost.
Well, if we define an achievement gap, it is the difference in data. Comparing students that are proficient readers to non-proficient readers. There is a huge gap here. What do these proficient readers know how to do well that these non-proficient readers don't? So what is the gap? That gap shows us that proficient readers tend to be more motivated. They had positive early literacy experiences, a lot of lap time. So as infants and toddlers, mom read to these children. They heard robust language at an early age. They speak in multisyllabic words and they have a stronger vocabulary. Okay. And that's one thing that leads to this gap. Children who are proficient readers know more words and they know what they mean. Children who are not proficient, they don't have that lap time as infants and toddlers and in early childhood. So they enter kindergarten already with a reading achievement gap. They don't know their letters and sounds. Maybe they didn't have magnetic letters at home. Maybe mom never played with the little plastic letters and helped kids learn the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3. So when the kid enters kindergarten, many children already have an achievement gap because more wasn't done between birth and starting kindergarten. And so if you interview 10 kindergarten teachers, they will tell you most of the kids don't know their letters. They don't know their sounds. Some of them don't know how to hold a pencil. Some of them don't know how to spell their own names. These are basic skills. And so because traditionally, some parents believe, now it may be based on where they were educated or how they were educated, they believe that school and learning starts when you start kindergarten. When you start kindergarten, that's when you get formal education. While this is true, what can be done between birth, even in utero, in mom? The mom who's reading to her fetus is giving her kid the advantage because the kids can hear, we know, in utero. Mom who, when the kid is born, doesn't miss a day. What if every kid had a bedtime story for 365 days of a year? Do you know the amount of vocabulary words they would know and understand? And so when mom doesn't understand the urgency of reading to children before they even start school, and then teaching them letters and sounds and sight words, we're leaving the kids at a disadvantage because of a lack of knowledge. So an achievement gap is a disparity in data between the two groups, the less proficient and the very proficient.
Because I feel like they can get it from both ends here. And inside the classroom, there's a lot of limitations of budget and what they can do on the professional side. But you're right, there are different children with different achievement levels and have to operate within the same grade, the same class. I mean, from your perspective, what do teachers have to go through all this?
So teachers are, many of them, I mean, there are different levels of teachers. You have first year teachers who are just trying to figure out the day to day. Okay. They're just trying to make it from September to June, and whatever the principal tells them to do, they're basically going to do that. They're just in survival mode. But then you have veteran teachers. In my practice as a literacy coach, I've met many veteran teachers who, some of them had a degree in literacy, no clue how to teach children how to read. Mm-hmm. What happens in many schools is principals mandate that teachers follow this curriculum. And while curriculums are beautifully created, what children really need is a focus on their data. Teachers assess students and then they go about the business of sticking only to the curriculum. They struggle with what we call differentiating the curriculum. So you have a baseline of what you should teach, and then you need to make sure that there is time to meet the individualized needs of children. So if you're a kindergarten teacher and you got this great curriculum that focuses on you reading these big books to your children every day, and then having discussions about what's the title, what's the author's name, sight words in the book, main idea, all of these higher level skills, but you don't make time for that data you have that shows that Johnny out of 26 letters only knows 4. So there are different parts of literacy. You have phonemic awareness, which is auditory processing of letters and sounds. Then you have phonics, that's the visual, the actual print on the paper. Mm-hmm. Then you have what's called fluency, the ability to read at a good rate and speed. We want children to know an abundance of sight words because these words are irregular. In other words, their vowels break the phonics rules. To be a fluent reader, you have to know in kindergarten 50 to 75 sight words. In first grade, 100 to 150 sight words. In second grade, 200 to 250 sight words. Teachers are struggling with time. Now, how am I going to fit this all in? So meanwhile, there are beautiful curriculums out there.
Right.
There is this conundrum with finding the time to fit it all in. So a lot of it just goes by the wayside. And if you're a parent and you believe your values are based on my kid's going to get everything they need at school, you're wrong, because the data is showing us it's not working. And so I created the book to help parents see, I need you to implement some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going to spell it out for you to the letter. Nothing to worry about. And so it starts with getting mothers to see the school system cannot do it alone. And if you rely solely on the school systems, which most parents do, I'm telling you, teachers are struggling because kids come in with the achievement gap. Parents are believing that the kids are going to get everything they need. And so K1 and 2, we have a huge achievement gap. I'm talking children who their first language is English. Mm-hmm. Then if you think about children who their first language is not English, there's the struggle to teach what we call English language learners. Then there's the additional struggle of kids who we can clearly see have a learning disability, have speech and language concerns, they have focusing concerns. You teach them a sight word today, then tomorrow you show them the word, they're like, what is this? They can't remember. These are kids with, learning disabilities. So this education is a conundrum. So we need mom to hold our hands, and together we need to walk in this movement to help the children because they are struggling. The concern is once they get to the upper grades, many children have convinced themselves, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I can't do this, I'm different, I'll never learn. And many of the boys start misbehaving, they become labeled, they're a behavior problem, but really it's because their needs are not being met. It's like going to the doctor and telling the doctor, hey, I personally have asthma. I have asthma. I keep wheezing. When I walk by people who smoke cigarettes, my chest gets tight. When the weather changes, I need help with this. Doc, can you help me with this? And the doctor says to me, okay, I know the solution. The solution is, why don't you just take a painkiller? A painkiller is not going to help me. So kids are going to school. The schools have the data. They're not getting what they need.
Yeah. Parents are the catalyst when it comes to education. It seems, or making things.
Are the change that we need. This is a need, a cry for help, because when you look in the face of these beautiful children, they want help. They want to learn how to read. And when you teach them, which is by the grace of God, the opportunity that I have through my private practice, when you see, you have a discussion with mom, hey mom, most of my clients are dyslexic. This is dyslexia. This is a learning disability. These are the signs. And here's what I can do to help. I just need you to help me by practicing with your child the next few days. So when your child comes back, I can build right on top of that. It's about keeping the information present in the brain. And the brain is a very distracted organ. And so kids need repetition and practice. What they need, they don't often get.
And it definitely is something that terms to be cropping up in different communities everywhere. Just as a final question aside, because I know there's some parents out there that love to use technology as a tool for screen time, and I do think that has a role, it seems, but ultimately it's the interaction face to face and also going to be the ultimate help when it comes to closing the achievement gap.
So technology is a phenomenal tool, and that's just what it is, a tool. It's a tool, okay? It's not the solution to the problem. It's just a tool. And so I use a tool at my private office where kids have access to leveled readers, so they can listen to the story, then they read the story, they can record themselves, they can play it back, they answer the comprehension questions. Thumbs up. Mom still has to read to children, and children have to read to mom, and mom needs to pay attention and say, okay, when he read this 10-page cute little picture book, I noticed that when he gets to the word they, he doesn't know the word they, the word what. Kids struggle with the word said, these irregular words. So technology is a great tool, but mom needs to be paying attention, being proactive, and noticing, what are the phonics principles my child is struggling in, and what can I do to help this child learn? Because each year, kids continue in education and they carry the gaps with them. So if you're in kindergarten, first or second grade, and you didn't learn what you needed to learn, it just piles up into the next year. And that's why the gap keeps widening. I know fifth graders in schools who don't know their basics. They're 2 and 3 years behind in reading. And some people think, oh, because they have special needs. No, I have evidence. Special needs kids can close the reading achievement gap if they're getting what we call explicit instruction. They're getting what they need in terms of multi-sensory instruction. And mom is doing the practice work 10, 15, 20 minutes. Who doesn't have 10 to 15 minutes per day for your kid? Now, if you choose not to dedicate the time, which is what some parents choose to do, they hand them an iPad, but that's not the solution. It's not the solution. It's just a babysitter. It's, give mom a break time. but it's not going to move the needle. You will find that these kids will be at the same level at the end of a school year. Many children have iPads and that's all they use at home, but that clearly is not working either. It's not a solution. Mom is the missing link, and I'm going to sing it and scream it at the top of a mountain until mom gets it, because we need mom.
Mom is the missing link. The power is within you is the name of the book. It's available now from Dr. Parker. And it's the kind of the conversations I think are so important for not only parents, our current parents, but even prospective parents about like some of the things it can do to help out our next generation. So I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us on the show. Is there any final moments or tips you want to share with us now at the time?
The book is on Amazon. Go to Amazon, click the button, secure the book, and give yourself the tools you need to close the reading achievement gap.